Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. You're listening to the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox, part of the immigration or podcast, part of the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox network. It's August 1st. We're going to go over top 10 kind of stuff I learned the last week or two that are interesting that will help your practice, little tips and tidbits of knowledge that's really cool. But before we start housekeeping, I am planning a conference, a workshop, really is what I call it, for the first quarter of 2023. If you're an immigration lawyer interested in joining, please email me at info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. We're getting a head count. Focus is going to be on employment-based, in particular, self-petition kind of cases. Getting experts out here that are going to talk about how to do that, like an O1 that's somewhat of a self-petition, EB1, EB1C, L1s if you're owner of the company, EB1A, different aspects, E2, this kind of stuff. If you're a family based or humanitarian based, you're trying to get into business, or you started, you want to go to a little bit next level. We're going to have experts going through that kind of stuff. I think it's going to be a great workshop in Los Angeles. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to see each other in person. It's going to be a change of pace. A lot of people have responded. Surprisingly, mostly people from outside of Los Angeles, Florida, New Jersey, St. Louis, and in Orange County, which is not too far. But if you're in LA traffic, it's a pleasure to get someone from Orange County wanting to make the drive. But I think it's a lot of fun. Probably going to be in Santa Monica. We're still looking at locations and stuff. We're going to make a lot of fun and have a big party. And wherever you're at, if you're not in Los Angeles in the first quarter of 2023, it'll be cold and stuff. You want to be here. It doesn't rain here, fortunately or unfortunately. So you have a good vacation as well. Probably going to be on a Friday as well. So I'm looking forward to that. But just hit me up if you're interested, and we'll get you in on that with the information that you need. We also started a community page for immigration lawyers, so email me about that. So there's a question and answer portion, there's documents, all this different stuff. If you want a little more information, I'm not fully releasing it yet, but slowly putting it out there till we get the software up running. But email me and we'll get you on the first people that are joining. The magazine is out, issue number 6 is out. A lot of fun doing it and a lot of great articles. Check it out at immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine. And they get a lot of information there about practice, and it really is like a treasure trove of guidance and information and tips that's going to help you in whatever kind of immigration practice you have. We have a topic in there for you. And I want to thank the sponsors of the magazine, in particular DocuWise, who's always been so supportive of the podcast and of the magazine. DocuWise.com is where to go to get case management software, office management software. They're growing every quarter. They're just releasing so many different stuff that makes your practice better. So check them out. You get an additional 10% off annual plan by going to DocuWise.com/immigration-lawyers-podcast and using the code immigration lawyers podcast. That's gonna be great there. And also Argo Visa, a great sponsor. Been friends with the people involved in there for a long time. Did an interview with the executive vice president, Mandy Fierbacher. She's been on the show because she's a former consular officer and she did practice immigration law. So we had her on talking about stuff. But check it out when that comes out, probably in the coming week. Go over that. ArgoVisa.com is a website. Essentially, it helps your clients prepare for consular processing and before, afterwards, asking questions and just a lot of guidance on the DOS portion of the case. So it's something worth doing, some checking out. ArgoVisa.com. You can reach out to them, get information how it works, check out their website too. I think it's going to be a lot of help. Having said that, let's see if there's anything else I got to plug or do. For my law firm, JK Law, we are expanding in the next year or two. And so you may not need to hire you right now, but if you're interested in getting involved with the law firm aspect of what I do, is a separate company. Email me. I'll be happy to connect and get to know you. If you're immigration lawyer or a professional in this area. So we have you on a relationship. So we're ready. So when the time comes, we know the people who they are. We appreciate it. Having said all that, this is intended for general education only, not individual legal guidance. Both immigration attorney, you know the rest. Let's get the show started. All right. So one thing I want to talk about, number one, is this issue of confiscation of money at the port. So this one story popped up where this Ethiopian family was leaving the United States for Ethiopia, and they had like tens of thousands of dollars on them. They didn't report it for some reason. They were, customs talked with them, and they found out they confiscated the money. So it's if you don't tell you have more than $10,000 on you or 10,000 or more on you, they could confiscate it. What was kind of awful, they did it when the person was leaving the United States, which isn't typical because CBP just doesn't have the manpower or person power to be able to move this stuff out. to the other side. Um, when the people are sorry, I just noticed that we got some comments, and I had the wrong logo for those watching the videos with my law for logo, so I have to switch it up. But for those watching, any questions per se, that's our Wednesday show for JK Law. Sorry, so sorry about that distraction. And so be careful. Clients leaving, they do question sometimes. Almost never do they do that because there's just not enough people, but it does happen. And clients, they usually don't tell you if they're traveling with much money, but they got to report this stuff. If they report it's not an issue, they can leave with it. They may ask like, how'd you earn the money? It's lawful and that kind of stuff. But when you have clients that go to countries that deal with cash in particular, where there's a lot of inflation, they want to take dollars with them. This risk does exist where people, they get confiscated at the port. So be mindful of that. Unfortunately, his family lost a lot of money. But it was it's a gossipy story that got the rounds on the internet. I did some videos on this and they got a lot of view. That was number one. Number two, good news, a signature validity thing we're doing with USCIS where we could send in copies of ink signed signatures has become the norm now. So we could do that for everything. They announced it in their extension of the COVID response time for USCIS, where you get additional 60 days or such. It's a great point. I'm glad they did that because it just makes sense to have everything. It's been really helpful for the practice because nowadays people don't need to send us anything. And I even have a passport photo printer where people send me passport photos. I can print it here. A colleague didn't buy the passport photo printer. It kind of costs a lot of money and then hassle to do the passport photo printer that I do have. But some people are like, well, just have the person upload it to like Walmart.com and then Walmart prints it and you have them mail it to you like that. It costs some delays. If I can print it here, it's faster. That's an alternative way to get photos. But essentially, if you're doing a fully remote office, it just made things smoother. What I would just wish is that they also keep the extension, the 60 days extension, because sometimes when you have 30 days, there's just not enough time. So hopefully, that goes into it too. Number three, I have a case that came up, a consultation where this person had I-751 pending. They wanted to be 400 with me. And I'm like, okay, we got to update the address location. And they were going to file the F400 and then like 2 months later move. And so I was like, okay, just need to update your address. And then I went to the AR11 system for changing address with USCIS. And I was trying to change both the I-751 and the F400, just playing with the system to switch it off. And I saw that if you say you have an I-751 pending and you want to add other forms that are active, it won't give you the option to an F400. And vice versa, F400, you can add an I-751. The AR11 doesn't allow you to drop down to add the second form type. Do two separate AR11 requests, one for the I-751, get that in, and then separately do an F400. As opposed to doing an adjustment of status I-485, you could do I-485, 131, and I-765 all in one round. So that was the interesting thing that popped up with regard to the AR11. Number four is MVC stuff. It's going to get a little bit longer, but the original thing I want to talk about is I've been getting so much mess-ups with MVC. So my firm website is info@jqklaw.com, but many times, like several cases now, the MVC emails info@jgklaw.com. Instead of a Q, they put a G in there, and so I don't get the email. So I'm waiting for the welcome letter from the National Visa Center, and it just doesn't come. And then a month later, I'm like, listen, I tell the client, we're still waiting on the welcome letter. I haven't got it. And the client's like, oh, I got that 2 weeks ago. So now I made it where I tell the clients, like, listen, we're going to get a welcome letter. Potentially, I won't get the email because I'll misspell my email address. If you get anything, remind them, you're supposed to forward me anything you get anyways, but remind to do that. The error happens a lot. I've had it with instead of info, they write LNFO instead of I. I mean, it's ridiculous. And they get you right, but that, which kind of goes back when if I was starting my firm over again, I definitely wouldn't have my initials as a law firm name. I would pick something that's easy to say over the phone, something that's easy to spell, not too long, doesn't have weird letters, something foreign people could that don't usually talk English could do. And this kind of mess up with doesn't happen because if you have a Q and it's a lowercase q, it looks like a G too, so that throws people off. No, definitely want to be careful of that if you're starting your own firm or if you have the opportunity to change the name now. The sub part of this, I'm not going to make a whole section on this, is the Department of State released new AILA liaison notes. I had just done a whole podcast on the spring version that was just released like June 6th or something like that. And then June 9th, the Department of State released its own version of it of the summer recording. So it's different from that one. So it's kind of back to back. We got the spring one late, I guess. And there wasn't that much stuff in there. So I'm not going to dedicate a whole episode. I'm just going to mention a couple parts in here that are like 3 or 4 parts. and they're mostly procedural kind of help, which I wanted to mention. It's good for you to review on your own. Just Google Department of State AILA Liaison Committee meeting, June 9th, 2022. It's there, and this isn't even the AILA doc. This is Department of State stuff has to be public because it's government stuff, so it's all there everywhere. One note is they're asking about documents that were taken to, let's see, what is it? The question was, NBC recently started requiring applicants to submit documents that are not required under the FAM or are inappropriate for that individual's particular circumstances. I've been getting that a lot too. They've been asking for petition or birth certificates in like marriage cases. It's kind of weird. But NBC follows the guidance in 9FAM 504.4 I'm going to skip that kind of stuff. But for collecting police certificates from countries in which the individual previously resided for a year. Okay, so they're going to police certificates. What did I want to mention about here that was special? Essentially, I'm not sure why I took notes on that. It's pretty basic. If you live in a country more less than 1 year, NBCstate.gov blah, blah, blah has requirements for that. Here, NBC process for affidavit support eligibility remains the same under 9FAM blah, blah. NBC will request W-2s for periods of employment if a sponsor submitted a copy of a tax return, regardless of the filing status, or if the sponsor submitted an original tax transcript and is using his or her income to meet the poverty guidelines. So in other parts, they had said that if you use a tax transcript, you don't need to send a W-2. But here it sounds like they're saying they do need to do it. So just always get the W-2 and 1099s from the clients and put it in there. Another part says NBC is unable to create a case or issue a case number until it receives an approved petition from USCIS. There is a known issue with some approved petitions transferring from USCIS to NBC. USCIS has made changes to their system. This is people not getting like notices. But the reminder is, if USCIS did not receive your client's approved petition, we recommend emailing nbcresearch@state.gov for assistance. That's the place to go. Now, I had a person do a consultation, and they didn't hire me, but I just said, okay, contact nbcresearch@state.gov, see what's going on. And they just got a response like 6 weeks later saying, go through the NBC portal and submit your question there. So you really want to double, even though they don't want you to do this, you want to double it up. You go to nbcresearch@state.gov, make the request saying we haven't got anything, and then go around and do it on the portal page. So you have two different ways on that they're getting it. Another part talked about the DS Form 260 that can't be updated. As you know, once you summon the DS 260 is locked, and only the embassy can open up later, usually after the interview. They're saying our system is not designed to allow the DS 260 to be reopened after it has been received and reviewed by NBC. Reopening would take the case out of intended processing path and further. If NBC were to reopen a DS 260 after a case with documents are completed, the case would lose its spot in line for scheduling, as a newly documentarily complete date would be applied to the case. So it's very interesting. So if they did reopen it, it's going to take you out of order for scheduling purposes. So at least at the earliest time they can open a DS-260 is after the embassy schedules an appointment, because at that point they're not in the queue anymore. I thought that was interesting. It said once the case has been scheduled, the post can be informed that there are changes that need to be made to DS-260, and the post can reopen the document to allow updates to be made through the CIAC portal. Now, they say this. I have a case that was the Iranian case that went through a travel ban in 2016. They just scheduled the interview 6 years later now. And he's going to interview next week, actually. And his DS-260 is still old from 2016. And we've emailed them and say, listen, we need to update this. This is like, there's new information. Nothing too groundbreaking, just address change. And like the petitioner, what the green card is mailed to the petitioner address that's changed, that kind of stuff. But they haven't been responding. So I'm guessing they're going to interview and they're going to reopen it or something. Likewise, they're saying the visa applicant can and should inform the officer at the interview of any information on the form that has become outdated, so the form can be annotated or amended. So we got to tell the guy, listen, that's just an annoying thing that's there. Nomenclature protocols for uploading documents to CIAC. So what should you name your doc files when you upload stuff to the NBC system? They say the file names that the case parties enter are not displayed in our systems. Only the document type is displayed. What is most important is that the case parties, 1, upload multi-page documents as one file. 2, upload documents right side up. 3, select the appropriate document type label in CIAC. 4, upload only documents that are required for the case, no pictures or superfluous documents. And 5, ensure documents are uploaded on the right sponsor or applicant name. So this is important, obviously, all of that. the important thing is a case. I used to be very specific in the case style. I mean, I just read this week, but I'm not going to care as much to make it user friendly for them. I just use my internal office in case no one could try to name it. So that's important to know. But sometimes when you upload it as other, you kind of want to have in that description box the explanation of what the file is in case the officer opens it and can't figure it out on their own. That's something to do. Another thing happening, talking about a lot about NBC, is I have cases where it's one embassy and we switch it up, but the case has already been documented, qualified, everything's uploaded, but didn't move the case. The new embassy is, this week saying, because I have 2 cases that's happened. They're saying we can't access the embassy documents because they're associated with the previous embassy. Please re-upload to CIAC all the documents. So then I just go and re-upload. There's double of everything in our view where we see it, but for them it's the only these new documents. It doesn't make sense that the NBC just switches stuff up, should work out, but this is the stuff that's happening. So I wanted to just make some quick notes. I don't think there's anything else that I thought worth talking about there, but that's that. Number 6, direct filing with U.S. Embassy. So we have cases where a lot recently where the person is overseas and the petitioner, they get married, they want their spouse here, or they want their kids here. But the direct filing is pretty much stopped under Trump administration. Has got much more difficult, and even more so, it's really embassy per embassy based. So, for example, we contacted the embassy in Germany for direct filing, and they say we have to show the U.S. petitioner's spouse is going to be moving quickly for a job or something like that. If we get proof of that, they'll be okay with it. That's fine. Contact the U.S. Embassy in Egypt. It's got to be pretty much an emergency life or death situation for us to do direct filing. And so it just see like each embassy is different, and it kind of along with that, to go to show when you're dealing with immigration depends on who you get. We know we've been doing expedite requests for I-130s, which have all mostly failed. We just got one approved for an LPR I-130, and for that one we had asked for USCIS, they denied it. We asked the senator, they denied it, and then we asked congressperson, and then they approved it. LPR I-130 got approved in 6 months. So it really depends on who gets it. With luck is really the biggest thing on these kind of things. Number 7 from I-864W. Where did I talk about? Oh, I talked about this private group. That's what. But when you are with the case where, like for example, a U.S. citizen is applying for a green card for their child, when the child enters the United States and resides with the U.S. citizen parent, they're automatically going to get citizenship at that point. In the green card process for that, you do not need to submit a full I-864 because the child's going to be a citizen. They don't require it. There's a waiver of that requirement, but you do need to submit form I-86W. The reason why this came up is I forgot to do that for a case. I was able to fix it really quickly. Like as soon as the embassy asked for it, I just turned around. It's a very simple form and did it, and it got approved and just got the visas approved this morning. But be mindful of this form does this I-864W. It also applies if you want to use the beneficiary's income last, say, 40 years or 40 quarters and pay Social Security. Along with that evidence, the Social Security office has 10 years records with them, and you can waive the I-864 requirement there. So that's going to be mindful. Now, I did have a case of one embassy that required for the I-864, and I did submit it. This is like 2 years ago, a year ago. And the embassy kept saying, no, you send us a full I-864. I'm like, no, people are become citizens. It's not required. Back and forth, and I it was a waste of time. So I just had the client find this. We needed a full I-864, unfortunately, and sent it, even though the W was required. So be prepared for that kind of nonsense, but it does happen. Number 8, USCIS website has been updated to talk about immigration pathways for STEM majors. So we got notice from USCIS that they have this website and works with. It's like different options how a STEM person can get access to work visas or a green card. And you think about it, F1 student visa is not a dual content visa. So if you're on F1, kind of planning it out, it's not supposed to be good. But it shows that the administration is kind of pushing this. Yeah, we're going to help you with green cards, especially for STEM. We've seen additions for like O1s, for example, if you have STEM stuff, grants, they'll help your O1, maybe EB1A, maybe NIW for those. So it seems like the administration is trying to help this aspect of immigration and students with these kind of skills, which is good. They're doing something. Number 9, naturalization, to submit taxes, not submit taxes. My way I've been doing it for 10 plus years is if we're doing a Natz case, we do not submit citizenship or transcript. I'm not citizenship, tax transcripts or tax returns to show they pay taxes. There is a question that asks, have you always paid your taxes? And we say yes. If it's no, we explain it or whatever. But I don't send it unless I'm doing a 3-year marriage-based Natz case. And in those cases, I'm trying to build the joint residency through the joint filing of the tax returns. So the reason I send it. And there was talk about this online. of when to send it. Some lawyers always send it. Some lawyers send 5 years. Some people send all of it. I don't do it as extra paperwork, and the instructions kind of recommend that you do it, but I've never had problems with it. I've only had pretty much one time this person of African descent in a northeastern field office, put it that way, went to the interview and everything was good, but the officer put him through the ringer of saying want to taxes. So we went and got him. He had come on diversity visa lottery in like in November of 1 year, so he didn't file taxes for that partial year. The officer forced him to go file that if he does it. It was very rude to him the whole time. So honestly, I'm not a person that says everything's racist. I'm not that way of things. I think they were just usually annoying, not racist. But I think it was a racist kind of situation, that the way he was telling me and describing it, he was even trying to say that, but it was so ridiculous that that northeastern office is like on my red flag list. But you know, I usually don't file with taxes. Maybe ask the client to try to get them together. Just ask, have you filed your taxes? It's probably better to check with them, make sure they didn't mess up. Or I kind of take them at their word, because getting all the tax papers hassle. These are big files. Tax transcripts might be an easy way to go, but it should be, you know, good to do it. But I don't submit it because it just opens up more paperwork to review and makes the file bigger. And if they wanted, they could ask the Natz and RFES and look at it or something like that. Finally, the last thing is, you know, there was this court case that popped up. I'd saved it here somewhere. I forgot where it was. It's called Shkembi versus Attorney General, Third Circuit. And the situation was where this person used a fake passport, someone else's passport, that was had the visa waiver in it. And he tried to enter, but it was caught, but they still paroled him in because he claimed asylum. And while he was going through the asylum proceedings, he married a U.S. citizen, tried to adjust status. That was denied. He appealed it. And they said, and just informational, probably a lot of people know, but on the visa waiver program, you can only adjust status based on, you know, or file an asylum case, asylum only proceedings, or if you married to a U.S. citizen, you could do that. But in this case, this guy, why did it not work out? So he was subject to visa waiver, did the asylum case. The marriage case was denied. What was the marriage case denied to the U.S. citizen? Let me double check. Let me find that case. This is all preparation for you. Okay, but check it out. So essentially they said the goal of it, and put aside what the facts were, the conclusion was that, and I won't bother looking up, was that if someone tries to enter the United States with the visa waiver program, even a fake one, they're still going to be subject to the rules of the visa waiver program. So even though this guy was from a country that wasn't subject to visa waiver, his real passport was a non-visa waiver country, because he attempted to come in, he's bound by the VWP laws, and it seems like all the other circuits agree with that. Now, if the guy came in with a fake tourist visa, it would have been a different story, but he would have not been bound by that. But he came in with the visa waiver program. He screwed on that. So that's that. So I thought I'd share that information. I hope you did okay. We got notes my last podcast. I was talking too fast, so hopefully I didn't go too fast this time. Definitely contact me about the workshop. We want more people to come because it's going to be more lively, more fun. Info@immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com. If you want to be a great immigration attorney, put it that way, you got to come to these kind of things. We're going to be doing different cities, but we want to get the sample down, how it's done, and then move around San Francisco, New York, Miami. It'll be a lot of fun having workshops across the country with the Immigration Lawyers Toolbox. It's going to be great. And check out the magazine, immigrationlawyerstoolbox.com/magazine. If you want to contribute, hit me up. You know, give some ideas. We'll see what can happen. Always looking for good articles. Having said that, God bless. Be safe, and we'll talk soon. Bye-bye.